Nestled in a picturesque setting, the neighborhood was known for its friendly atmosphere and well-maintained homes, each with its unique charm. Lush trees lined the streets, and vibrant flower beds adorned many front yards, creating a sense of pride among residents. Children played outside, and neighbors often gathered for weekend barbecues or casual chats on the sidewalks. This sense of community was bolstered by the presence of the Homeowners Association (HOA), which aimed to uphold the aesthetic standards and harmony of the area. The HOA, composed of volunteer members from within the community, enforced rules that governed everything from lawn maintenance to architectural changes. While their intentions were rooted in preserving the neighborhood's appeal, their decisions often sparked debates among homeowners about the extent of their authority. Despite some disagreements, most residents appreciated having an organized body to address neighborhood issues. However, little did anyone know that the HOA's next move would drastically alter the fabric of their community. As plans emerged for a significant construction project, whispers of uncertainty began to circulate. The subsequent decision to build a wall would soon reveal deeper complexities regarding ownership and community rights that would challenge everything residents believed about their homes and shared spaces. Just when residents thought they had a handle on their community, an urgent notice from the HOA caught everyone off guard. The announcement detailed plans to construct a tall wall around the perimeter of their properties to enhance security and privacy, a decision made without prior consultation or input from homeowners. Confusion spread quickly as families gathered in their yards, discussing the implications of a wall that would obstruct views and disrupt the neighborhood's openness. Some residents voiced immediate concern over the aesthetics of such a structure. Others worried about how it might alter their sense of community. "What will this do to our front porches?" one neighbor asked, anxiously glancing at the drawings that accompanied the HOA's announcement. The proposed wall threatened the inviting atmosphere that had long defined their lives. Frustration mounted as people began to feel sidelined by the HOA's unilateral decision. Online forums buzzed with discontent, and impromptu gatherings blossomed in driveways, where neighbors shared grievances and speculated on the motivations behind the wall. As residents sought clarity, it became evident that this seemingly simple construction project would spark deeper questions about authority, ownership, and the rights they believed they held in their own community. Amid the rising tensions in the neighborhood, the protagonists decided to take matters into their own hands by digging into property records. Armed with a sense of determination, they visited the county clerk's office and meticulously reviewed the documentation related to their home and its boundaries. To their astonishment, they discovered that not only did they own their property, but their deed extended to the entire street, including the shared sidewalks and green spaces. This revelation prompted a mix of disbelief and excitement. How could it be that for all these years the HOA had been operating under the assumption that they held authority over these areas without full knowledge of the homeowners' rights? The protagonist felt a surge of empowerment, but also frustration at the lack of communication from the HOA regarding property boundaries. Returning home, they couldn't shake the feeling that this new knowledge could change everything. It became clear that the wall was more than just a physical barrier. It represented a challenge to the very ownership and freedoms they thought they possessed. With this newfound understanding, the protagonist began to contemplate how best to assert their rights, knowing that they now had the backing of legal documentation that could potentially alter the power dynamics within their community. With a newfound sense of empowerment, the protagonist delved deeper into understanding their property rights and local regulations. Armed with the information from the county clerk's office, they began researching zoning laws and land use policies to verify the scope of their ownership. Online resources became a treasure trove of knowledge as they consulted governmental websites and local ordinances that outlined homeowners' rights within their area. To better visualize the boundaries, the protagonist also sought out maps from their city's planning department. These detailed illustrations showed not only property lines but also easements and communal areas, a key factor in understanding what the HOA could legally regulate. Each discovery reinforced their initial conclusion about ownership and revealed how the HOA's authority related to community spaces. As they compiled their findings, the protagonists noted down specific statutes that supported their position. This wasn't just about defending personal property, but also about preserving the communal essence that made their neighborhood unique. Discussing these insights with trusted neighbors further fueled their resolve to confront the HOA. Knowing they were on solid legal ground transformed their anxiety into determination, prompting them to prepare for a potential confrontation over the proposed wall and the liberties they believed were being infringed upon. As the protagonists prepared to confront the HOA, they began to consider the broader legal implications of the association's proposed wall. With their newfound knowledge of ownership, they realized that the wall might not only violate property rights, but could also be a breach of local zoning law. The community's configuration, meant to promote openness and collaboration, could be fundamentally threatened by a structure that divided properties and obscured shared spaces. Research into local regulations revealed provisions that required homeowners associations to seek approval and input from residents before making significant alterations like erecting a wall. The realization that the HOA potentially bypassed these legal requirements intensified their determination to act. This wasn't just a case of inconvenience. It was about preserving rights recognized under property law. Moreover, by discussing these legal ramifications with neighbors, they uncovered similar concerns among residents who felt disenfranchised by the HOA's lack of transparency. This collective angst highlighted a shared understanding that they might not just fight for their individual rights, but also advocate for community integrity. Equipped with this legal backing and community support, the protagonist felt ready to formally challenge the HOA's actions and assert their rights in court if necessary. The prospect of legal confrontation loomed ahead, but so did the possibility of uniting the neighborhood against what many viewed as an overreach of authority. Recognizing the importance of community support, the protagonist decided to host an informal meeting to discuss their findings and share concerns about the HOA's proposed wall. They invited neighbors via flyers and social media, hoping to gather a diverse group that represented different perspectives within the neighborhood. On the evening of the meeting, as residents filtered into their home, a palpable sense of collective frustration filled the air. The protagonist opened the discussion by outlining their recent discoveries regarding ownership and property rights. As they spoke, nods of agreement and murmurs of support emerged from the crowd. Neighbors shared their own experiences with the HOA, recounting moments when they felt unheard or marginalized in decision-making processes. The realization that many had similar grievances fostered a newfound solidarity among them. Encouraged by this atmosphere of collaboration, residents began brainstorming potential actions to take against the HOA's decision. Ideas ranged from drafting a petition to organizing a larger community meeting where they could collectively voice their objections. As conversations flowed, it became clear that this was no longer just one person's fight. It was a united stand against what they perceived as an overreach of authority. Fueled by shared determination, they began to outline next steps, ready to confront the HOA as one cohesive unit. Feeling emboldened by the community's support, the protagonists reached out to the HOA board to formally express their concerns about the proposed wall. They crafted a comprehensive letter outlining not only their ownership rights, but also the anxieties shared by many neighbors regarding the wall's implications for community openness. This initial correspondence was carefully written, invoking local regulations and expressing a desire for collaboration rather than conflict. Despite their clear and well-articulated points, the response from the HOA felt dismissive. The board scheduled a meeting, but seemed reluctant to engage with the valid concerns raised. During this meeting, the protagonist and a few neighbors articulated their objections and shared their collective findings about property rights and zoning law. However, they faced resistance from board members who insisted that the wall was necessary for security and would enhance property values. After repeated attempts to communicate, it became evident that the HOA prioritized its agenda over homeowner input. Frustration grew as residents felt their voices were going unheard, leading to a realization that more robust action was needed. Tools like petitions and further meetings were now essential to ensure the HOA recognized the significance of community sentiment in their decision-making processes. Amid growing frustrations and a sense of urgency, the protagonist decided it was time to seek legal advice. Recognizing the complexity of the situation, they scheduled a consultation with a local attorney who specialized in property law and HOA disputes. During the meeting, The attorney listened attentively as the protagonist detailed their findings about ownership rights, community concerns, and the HOA's dismissive response. The lawyer provided valuable insights into potential legal avenues for contesting the wall's construction, emphasizing that homeowners had significant rights under property law. They discussed various options, including filing a formal complaint against the HOA and pursuing mediation to resolve disputes amicably. The attorney also highlighted pertinent statutes that could be leveraged to protect homeowner interests against what was viewed as an overreach of the HOA's authority. Feeling reassured by this professional guidance, the protagonist left the consultation with a clearer strategy. They understood that while they could attempt to negotiate with the HOA directly, having legal backing would strengthen their position significantly. Inspired by newfound confidence, the protagonist prepared to rally their neighbors once again, eager to share this information and outline next steps for potentially taking collective action based on sound legal advice. Eager to unify the community and take decisive action, the protagonist organized a neighborhood meeting at a local community center. They spread the word through flyers, social media, and personal invitations, emphasizing the importance of every resident's voice in addressing the HOA's proposed wall. On the night of the gathering, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as neighbors filled the room, each bringing their own concerns and perspective. As discussions commenced, the protagonist outlined their findings regarding ownership rights, legal avenues explored, and the dismissive responses from the HOA. Residents took turns sharing their frustrations and experiences with the association, expressing feelings of disenfranchisement and urging for transparency in decision-making. The shared emotions fostered a sense of camaraderie among attendees, transforming individual concerns into a collective mission. Together, they brainstormed various strategies to confront the HOA effectively. Ideas included drafting a joint letter to present to the board, organizing a petition to showcase community opposition against the wall, and considering a town hall meeting where residents could voice their opinions directly to HOA representatives. Inspired by this collaborative spirit, everyone left energized and committed to actively participating in protecting their rights and preserving the integrity of their beloved neighborhood. In response to the mounting community pushback, the HOA scheduled a special meeting to address the concerns raised by residents. The board members presented their justification for building the wall, emphasizing that it was intended to enhance security and privacy for homeowners. They argued that increasing safety measures would ultimately improve property values and maintain the neighborhood's appeal to potential buyers. However, as members of the community voiced their objections, it became clear that many residents felt unheard. The HOA's assurances did little to alleviate fears regarding openness and community cohesion. Some board members proposed solutions, such as incorporating gates or leaving specific areas open to maintain sightlines, but these suggestions were met with skepticism. Residents pressed the HOA to consider alternatives that would align better with the neighborhood's identity. They expressed a desire for transparency in decision-making and suggested creating a committee that included homeowners to evaluate future proposals collaboratively. Despite the HOA's attempts to reassure residents, frustration lingered, fueled by the perceived lack of genuine consultation throughout the process. It became evident that this issue would not simply resolve itself. Residents remained resolved to pursue their rights and challenges against the HOA's decisions, bolstered by their shared commitment to preserving the community's character. As tensions escalated within the community, local media caught wind of the ongoing dispute between residents and the HOA. Reporters from a nearby news outlet arrived to cover the story, interviewing both homeowners and HOA representatives to shed light on the contentious issue of the proposed wall. The protagonist and several neighbors shared their experiences, detailing how the HOA's actions had prompted fears about property rights and the future of their neighborhood. The media coverage quickly attracted attention beyond their small community, sparking discussions about homeowners' rights and HOA practices across the city. Articles highlighted not only the specific situation, but also broader concerns about transparency within homeowners associations, a topic that resonated with many who had similar grievances elsewhere. This newfound attention galvanized public support for the residents' cause, as sympathetic readers shared their stories on social media platforms, amplifying calls for accountability and change. As more people became aware of the situation, it positioned the residents firmly within a larger narrative about property rights and community engagement. The protagonist felt a renewed sense of purpose. With media backing, their efforts to challenge the HOA's overreach gained momentum, establishing a powerful dialogue that extended well beyond their neighborhood. As tensions reached a boiling point, both the HOA and the residents recognized the need for resolution. In a follow-up meeting prompted by ongoing community discontent, the HOA proposed modifications to the wall plan. They suggested lowering the height of the wall and incorporating landscaped elements to soften its appearance, aiming to address community concerns about aesthetics and openness. However, the residents countered with their own proposals, advocating for complete removal of the wall rather than merely modifying it. They argued that the wall contradicted the neighborhood's essence and would create unnecessary barriers among neighbors. Many residents expressed a desire for alternative measures to enhance security without compromising the community's character, such as increased patrols or improved lighting. After lengthy discussions, a potential compromise emerged. Instead of erecting a solid wall, the HOA could construct a decorative fence that maintained visibility while still providing some level of separation. This solution would allow for security while preserving the neighborhood's sense of community. As both parties weighed this option, it became clear that open communication and willingness to negotiate were crucial in moving forward. The protagonist felt hopeful. This momentum signaled progress toward a more collaborative relationship between the HOA and its residents, fostering a renewed commitment to shared governance. After extensive discussions and negotiations, a final resolution was reached regarding the proposed wall. The HOA ultimately agreed to abandon the initial plan for a solid wall, recognizing that it would compromise the neighborhood's openness and residents' sense of community. Instead, they opted for a decorative fence that would serve the purpose of delineating property lines while maintaining visibility and engagement among neighbors. This decision came after numerous meetings where both sides expressed their concerns and desires for the neighborhood's future. The new fence design included elements such as wrought iron and strategically placed landscaping that allowed for security while preserving the aesthetic appeal of the homes. Residents felt relieved and validated, sensing that their voices had played a crucial role in shaping this outcome. To celebrate this collaborative effort, the community held a gathering to thank those involved in the negotiation process, including the HOA board members who were receptive to feedback. The protagonists, alongside their neighbors, recognized that while challenges could arise again in the future, this experience had strengthened community ties and fostered a more transparent relationship with the HOA. Unified under a shared purpose, residents felt empowered to approach any future issues with confidence and solidarity, ready to uphold their rights together. Reflecting on the entire ordeal, the protagonist gained invaluable insights into the importance of understanding property rights and community dynamics. They learned that knowledge is power. Their initial ignorance about ownership boundaries had allowed the HOA to operate unchecked. By researching local laws and regulations, they not only empowered themselves but also rallied their neighbors to do the same, fostering a sense of collective strength. The experience highlighted the necessity of open communication between residents and the HOA, emphasizing that transparency should be paramount in any community governance. The protagonist recognized that active engagement is crucial. When residents feel sidelined, misunderstandings and conflicts can easily arise. This conflict taught them the significance of voicing concerns early to prevent escalation. Moreover, the ordeal reinforced the idea that advocacy is essential in combating potential overreach by homeowners associations. The collaboration among neighbors showcased how united efforts can lead to meaningful change and compromise, ultimately strengthening community ties. Feeling emboldened, the protagonist understood they could use their experience to educate others about their rights and encourage ongoing dialogue with the HOA, ensuring that future decisions reflected the collective will of the residents while protecting the community's character. The lessons learned would serve as a foundation for future advocacy efforts. In conclusion, the journey through the conflict with the HOA underscored the vital importance of understanding property ownership and rights within an HOA-controlled community. Homeowners learned that ignorance regarding boundaries and regulations can lead to significant challenges, but empowerment through knowledge is key to advocacy. This experience highlighted how proactive communication among residents is essential for fostering a harmonious living environment, ensuring everyone feels heard and valued. The resolution achieved through collaboration instilled a renewed sense of commitment among residents, reinforcing their collective ability to influence decision-making. Ongoing dialogue not only mitigates future disputes, but also cultivates a community spirit united by shared interests and goals. By remaining engaged with the HOA, homeowners can hold the association accountable while promoting transparency in its practices. This journey serves as a guiding example for other communities facing similar challenges, demonstrating that when residents join forces, they can successfully protect their rights and maintain the character of their neighborhood. Encouraged by their experiences, homeowners should continue to advocate for open communication, educate themselves on property laws, and champion collective action to safeguard their community's future. Because when residents stand together, they are powerful advocates for positive change.